since I can't travel, we're just traveling the world through books. What do you say? My knees are collapsing. Ow! It's been a while. One of my reading goals for next year, and actually for the upcoming years, is to read a book from every country. And I sort of got a head start on that this year. I was able to read a few books from Latin America and Asia. More specifically Japanese literature, Korean literature, yeah. But in 2022, I wanted to get really into it, you know. So I have so many books. So I didn't buy these like in one big sitting. I actually got, this is actually an accumulated book haul from the past 3 to 6 months, 3 to 7 months, and I've only just decided to film it this month because I've been just piling them from other bookstores, and I've asked all of them to be delivered at the same time. So now I have around 40, almost 40 books from around the globe. So some of these are multicultural works, like they are published in English but by multicultural authors, but majority would be translated literature. Most of these are classics and contemporary works, but we do have a few YA romance and some fairy tale or myth retellings as well. So I'm excited. I've been wanting to film this video for a while now, so I'm finally doing it. Yes. Okay. This is your captain speaking. Buckle up. Okay, I think the first stop we should do is Asia, since I have a favorite stop here. We'll be spending months on this country. But the first stop would be, I think this is a good place to start because I have 1,000 Beginnings and Endings. This is edited by Ellen O and Elsie Chapman. This is a collection of short stories from across Asia, retelling famous myths and legends and folklore. So that's right up my alley. We have Filipino folktales, Chinese, Punjabi, Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese, yeah. There's Gujarati. It's good. I've actually started reading just the first story, and I wanted to share with you like the first sentence of every book, if that's okay with you, because those really hype me up in terms of how much I want to get into a book, or if I should start reading it as soon as possible. I really like doing that for new books that I get, if it catches my attention right off the hook, or if not, if apat. Tatlo. Kasama yung rep apat. The first story I've actually started reading already, just the first sentence or the first few paragraphs, is a Filipino myth about Maria Makiling, I think. Yeah. So the first sentence goes, "Do not trust the fruit of Maria Makiling." That's our first book from Southeast or from Asia. Next, we have a multicultural work. It's published in English, but it's by a Filipino author. Half Filipino, I think, and the other, I want to do my research first. Hang on. Ooh, okay. So she's Filipina Filipino-Malayali Indian, but she's American as well, so multicultural. So we have World of Wonders by Amy Nezukumata. Wait. Amy Nezukumatatil. Nezukumatatil. Matatil? It's a collection of essays describing the places that Amy has been throughout her life, from her childhood to her current adult life. I think the subheading tells a lot about what the book is about: in praise of fireflies, whale sharks, and other astonishments. I think this book is going to make me feel like being outside again, in a time where being outside is just a little bit dangerous and risky, and I just want to feel connected with nature again. Forgot to read the first sentence here, but let's see here. It says, a catalpa can give two brown girls in western Kansas a green umbrella from the sun. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see where this goes, where this takes me. A book that takes you places. Next, in Asia, we have something that I've wanted to read ever since I saw the description. All the way from India, we have Latitudes of Longing by Shubhangi Swarup, which I just want to read it so bad ever since I read the first sentence from here. It's one of the most iconic or most banging entrances to a book that I've read. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm Southeast Asian and I could just relate from the first sentence right off the bat. I think this was published in English though, so it's not a translated fiction, but it is by an Indian author, and based in India as well. It's been described as a sweeping, lyrical, magical, epic love story between humanity and the earth itself. This is a story that travels across India from the islands to a valley to a city to a desert. It follows a scientist, a turtle who turns into a human. Just, there's so much going on. I feel like it's gonna be a lot. Like, they describe this as something quite reminiscent of 100 Years of Solitude. So very magical, very powerful, lyrical. I just can't wait to read this. I will probably start reading this in December when we start our break. I just want to devour it. Like, I want to read to you the first sentence, which got me hooked. Silence on a tropical island is the relentless sound of water. Can you picture that? Because I can. I can. Next up, we have Indonesia. I have 2 books from Indonesia, but I only have one right now because the other one I don't have with me. The first one is Beauty is a Wound by Eka Kurniawan. This is, I think, historical fiction as well. One of the owners of the online bookstore that I go to, highly recommended this book to me. He said if I have not read this yet, he encouraged me to give this one a try. I think he really liked this one. I read the first sentence and immediately my mind is blown. One afternoon on a weekend in March, Dewi Ayu rose from her grave after being dead for 21 years. Yeah, that's basically all I know about the book, and that's all I plan on knowing. I want to get into this without knowing much what it's about, but I've heard it's very descriptive, very lush, very vivid writing style, and I'm a big fan of books and writing styles like that. So it's chunky, so big. And the other one is, I'll put a thumbnail here, is Apple and Knife by Intan Paramaditha. I hope I said that right. This is horror fiction, horror feminist fiction, reworked from myths and fairy tales, set in the Indonesian everyday. So ticks all the boxes: horror, feminist, myths and fairy tales, everyday slice of life. I don't have it physically with me right now, but I can't wait to get into it. It could have been such a good Halloween read as well. Next, in Asia is a country we'll be spending a lot of our time in. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books from this country. Can you guess where we're going and having our very long stopover? We have Japan. So because I have so many books from Japan, I've decided to feature a whole video dedicated to that. I'm just going to briefly mention the titles, and then if you are interested in any of them, I can link the other video for Japanese literature specifically in probably up here. I don't know. I don't want to subject the other viewers who aren't as interested in Japanese literature in like 30 minutes worth of discussion over them. So real quickly, I want to breeze through these titles. We have Girl from the Other Side, which has a new anime trailer coming out. So Confessions by Kanae Minato, where a teacher gets revenge on students who murdered her daughter. The Night is Short, Walk On Girl by Tomihiki Morimi. Great film, very psychedelic, very trippy, very fun. The Woman in the Purple Skirt by Natsuko Imamura, which I have already read. I thought this was a fun, fresh rom-com type because of the cover, but it's actually a psychological thriller for fans of Altessa Moshpeg, Parasites, and Convenience Store Woman, apparently. So, yeah. Next we have The Hole, which is described as reminiscent of Hayao Miyazaki's My Neighbor Totoro. A woman and her husband move to the countryside, and she sees a creature she has never seen before, follows it, and falls into a hole. Tokyo Ueno Station by Yu Miri. This is historical fiction about a man whose spirit now haunts the Tokyo Ueno Station. Yes. And then we have these bad boys. Oh my goodness. Ta-da! The vintage Japanese classics. We have The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. Is about a housekeeper who lives with a professor who has only 80 minutes of memory. Her and her son introduce each other to the professor, and they form a bond. We have Haruki Murakami's The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, which I have no idea what it's about and I don't want to know because I want to get into Haruki Murakami without knowing much about his works. The Sailor Who Fell from Grace from the Sea by Yukio Mishima. This is about a group of 13-year-old boys who are on a ship, idolizing the ship officer they're with, and then finding out one of the boys' mothers has an affair with this ship officer, and this illusionment sort of feels like an act of betrayal for them, and they try to find a way to exact revenge in a way. We have Out by Natsuo Kirino, which is a suspense psychological thriller about a woman who works in a factory married to an abusive, philandering, gambling husband, and one day snaps and murders her husband and tells her coworkers about it and is surprised that they offer to help her get rid of the body. Lastly, we have the Makioka sisters, which is historical fiction about the Makioka family and the daughters, the sisters and the family. They're basically trying to revive their prestige and esteem, and the way they do this is by marrying off the four sisters, and it particularly revolves around the story of the third sister, who they're attempting to find a husband for. It gives me Jane Eyre vibes. I don't know why. Moving on. Everybody get on the plane. We're leaving Japan. We're off to Korea. For Korea, we have two books. I have Almond by Won Pyung-son. I actually had no plans on buying this book because it was so expensive. But then my friend from Thailand gave this to me as a souvenir. So, okay, I guess I'm reading it. And I think it's quite famous as well because someone from BTS said this was their favorite book or one of their favorite books, or read it, something like that. So yeah, it got quite popular. I think this is a coming of age story about, yes, so it's about Yoon-jae, who is born with a brain condition called alexithymia, which basically he's unable to differentiate emotions or feelings from one another, and basically how he grows up and the relationship he has with people having this disorder and how he revolves the world and his life around it. I heard it's quite sad but heartwarming as well. So the blurb says a tender exploration of adolescence. So yeah, I'm really getting coming of age indie film vibes from this one. So the first sentence of this goes, oh no, 6 were dead and 1 was wounded that day. Oh my god. Oh my god. Now that makes me want to read it more. And lastly, from Korea, I just want to read this book. Probably top 3 of the books I want to read from this haul is Untold Night and Day. Can I do that? Yeah, so I got this recommended to me after I finished reading Winter in Sokcho, I think. Oh no, I got this recommended to me after I read Sweet Bean Paste, which is a Japanese literature book. So I got this because of the cover, and I have no idea what it's about. But I know that anyone who's read this has raved about it. It became Emmy's favorite book, apparently, of all time. One of her favorite books of all time. And that says a lot. So I don't know what it's about. All I know it's about an actress who works in an audio theater, And that's basically all I want to know. I want to go into this not knowing what it's about. So, is it a thriller? Is it a romance? I have no idea. But I think it's more of an exploration of humanity, which I'm all up for, you know. The first sentence of this goes, the former actress Ayami was sitting on the second flight of stairs in the audio theater with the guest book in her hand. So everything I know about this book is just based on the first sentence. So it's quite short. They say it's quite hypnotic, quite dreamy, dreamlike. It's described as cryptic and compelling as a fever dream. If you've read this, can you tell me what it's about without telling me what the plot is? I think that's everything for Asia. So we're off to Europe. I think a great transition from Asia to Europe would be this book, which has actually almost the same cover as my turn. I actually thought this was translated from Korean, but it's translated from French. This is a story set in Sokcho, which is a tourist town bordering South Korea and North Korea. And we follow a French-Korean woman who works at an inn in Sokcho and meets a French guy who checks into the resort or inn she's working at. It's quite... What's that mood you get during winter? Where it's all very lucid. That's the feeling of this book. The writing is very detailed, it's very vivid. You really feel like you're in a wintry town in South Korea, near the borders. I quite enjoyed it. It was a nice read, quite nice, easy, fun read to get you out of a reading slump. The romance aspect didn't speak much to me, but I really did like the setting and how descriptive the writing was. So for those who enjoy that, you can give this a try. So it's a nice book to own. You know. So the first sentence of this, that I don't remember the first sentence of this. He arrived muffled up in a woolen coat. Okay, girl. This is also a good transition to Europe because it's a country that I don't know where to place, but it's apparently in both. From Turkey, we have, can you guess? Elif Shafak's 10 minutes 38 seconds in this strange world. I really want to read this. I want to read this so bad. I want to read this so bad. This story starts with a woman who dies. And as her body is dying, as her brain is shutting down, in that time span where the brain still functions, which is around 10 minutes, she begins to recall her life and how it led up to this situation, from her childhood, adolescence, all the way up to her dying moments. And it's heartbreaking, it's tender, I just want to read. The back of the book says, what if, after the moment of death, the human mind continues to work for a few more precious minutes? 10 minutes, 38 seconds exactly. I read Elif Shafak's 40 Rules of Love around mid-year, and it was so good. It was so wonderful. I think she's one of the most celebrated Turkish authors, women authors as well. So I'm so excited to read this. After reading 40 Rules of Love, that book is tabbed to death. Like, I had so many quotes saved from that book because it was such a good and lyrical and poetic book. And this whole description or the whole theme of this book is just something that I really want to explore. It deals with memory, it deals with gender and culture, and basically her life as a woman in Turkey. For Leia, every minute after death brings a sensuous memory. The taste of spiced goat stew, the goat sacrificed by her father to celebrate the long-awaited birth of a son, the sight of bubbling vats of lemon and sugar which the women use to wax their legs while the men attend mosque, the scent of cardamom coffee that Leia shares with a handsome student in the brothel where she works. Each memory, too, recalls the friends she made at each key moment of her life, friends who are now desperately trying to find her. I want to read the first page of this book to you real quick. Oh no, I want to read this already. Her name was Layla. Oh no, I want to read it. All the way from Turkey, we're going to Hungary, Budapest, with Antal Zerb. I see this book recommended a lot on videos that talk about translated literature or books around the globe. I see this recommended a lot and it's apparently one of the most well-loved Hungarian literature out there. This is the one that after I read the plot, I immediately wanted to get a copy, or I said this is the one I'm reading for Hungary. But if you guys have other suggestions, I'd love to. I devour. Eat the world, read the world. This is a story set on a train. It's a train book. It's about, what's his name? Mihaly is newly married. He's on his honeymoon and then on the way to Budapest to meet the in-laws. During his honeymoon in Italy, he loses his wife and proceeds to go on a chaotic, bizarre journey through the little town in Italy until he finally makes his way to Rome. It's described as erotic, dark, funny, sensual, and throughout his journey, he begins to decide his own fate, or decides his own humanity. In a sense, in this deeply moving and darkly funny masterpiece, Zerb explores questions of spirituality and selfhood that prove the very nature of bourgeois civilization. I don't know why, but I get picture of Dorian Gray vibes from this book. I may be way off, but for some reason that's the vibe I'm getting here. The first sentence for this one goes, "On the train, everything seemed fine." Let's go to Russia. I have The Master and the Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. I haven't read anything. Wait, have I? I read German, but I haven't read. No, I read Austrian and German, but I haven't read anything from Russia yet. And I heard this was a good opener. The only other Russian literature that I have is Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. And I don't know if I should start with that or with The Master and the Margarita. What do you think? Like, I don't know which is easier to digest, because I know Russian literature can be quite heavy and hard to digest. So let me know if this is a good starting point. I actually have no idea what the book is about as well. All I know is that there's a cat involved and the devil. And that's basically all I plan on knowing. I want to get into this as a blank slate. So that's Master and the Margarita. I'll read the first sentence because I don't think I have. Chapter 1. Never talk with strangers. At the hour of the hot spring sunset, 2 citizens appeared at the patriarch's fonts. Okay. That's pretty gripping. Next we have The Netherlands. I have The Discomfort of Evening by... Wait, I want to Google how to properly pronounce this. Okay. So, let me see if I'm saying this right. Marie Lucas Reidnefeld. The Discomfort of Eating. So, this won the 2020 International Booker Prize. They are the first author, Dutch writer to be nominated and win, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, I've seen this around. It's hyped. It's said to be really good. So, The Discomfort of Evening is about a family who has 4 children, and one of the oldest of the children dies in an ice skating trip. It's told through the story of 10-year-old Yas, or Yas, who does not quite experience the world the same way as other children. So when her older brother dies and the grief floods through her family, the way she processes it is different as well. Books about grief are always a ride, and to be told in such a perspective, I think it's going to be quite beautiful. The first sentence of this goes, "I was 10 and stopped taking off my coat." Okay. Next, we have, all the way from the Netherlands, we're off to Portugal. We have 2 books from the same author. We have Jose Saramago. Jose Saramago is one of the most well-beloved Portuguese writers, and in every video that deals with translated literature or books around the world, Saramago is always mentioned or recommended, and these 2 are the ones that I was the most interested in. So the first book is Blindness. This is a story about a city who is hit with an epidemic of white blindness. So everybody in the city is blind, and a series of crimes develop or is a result of this epidemic, and everyone in the city can't see anything except for one person, and this person becomes a witness to the crimes that are happening, the crimes that have been developed because of this epidemic. Humanity begins to commit the most atrocious crimes: assaulting women, theft, violence. It basically deals about the horrors of the world of this century, what humans are capable of doing, and it's described to be deeply unsettling, disturbing, very compelling and powerful. The first sentence, I actually haven't read the first sentence. The amber light came on. Oh no. And then the next book is a bit more laid back in terms of blindness. It's called Skylight. So the book is set in Lisbon in the late 1940s, and it basically revolves around different groups of families and people living in this one old apartment complex, hence the illustration here. So it explores their lives. There's an elderly shoemaker and his wife who take in a solitary young lodger, a woman who sells herself for money, clothes and jewelry, poisonous relationships, happy marriages, jealousy, gossip, and love. Skylight brings together all the joy and grief of ordinary people. So I really enjoy books that just explore humans and the lives they live, and exploring society and how different everyone's lives are. So I think I will quite enjoy this. We have Spain, The Labyrinth of Spirits by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. So this is part of a series called The Cemetery of Forgotten Books. The first book is the most famous one, which is The Shadow of the Wind, and I don't have a copy of that. However, it's said that you can read the books in any order from that series. So I'm interested to see if I can start this book right here. So it says here, this book is part of a cycle of novels set in the literary universe of the Cemetery of Forgotten Books. Although each work within the cycle presents an independent, self-contained tale, they are all connected through characters and storylines, creating thematic and narrative links. So yeah, I'm not sure if I should read this first or The Shadow of the Wind. Do you have any recommendations? Do you think I should read the first book first or this first? Or maybe I have The Prisoner of Heaven as well over there somewhere in my bookshelf. But I don't know which book should I read first from the Cemetery of Forgotten Books universe. So yeah, I'm quite interested because the first sentence of this makes me think I really should start with the first book. That night, I dreamt that I was going back to the Cemetery of Forgotten Books. So, I don't know, do I need prior knowledge or is it okay to just go straight on? Lastly, for Europe, we have Italy. For Italy, we have Italo Calvino's If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler. Spicy, look at that. Spicy. So, I don't know if I made the right choice for Italy because it's been said that this is one of his more bold conceptual works. It literally starts with the book describing you reading this book. So, I don't know if I should read this, as I haven't read any Italo Calvino's work before. Is this a good place to start reading him? But yeah, I heard it might be quite confusing or a bit too surreal for beginners, so let me know. It says, if on a winter's night a traveler turns out to be not one novel but 10, each with a different plot, style, ambience, and author, and each interrupted at a moment of suspense. The book literally begins with you. It opens with, you're about to begin reading Italo Calvino's new novel, If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler. So I don't know what to expect. I feel like I'm going to be bamboozled, left disoriented, confused, lying on the ground in tears. Let me know if that's an accurate description. So, I want to go to Latin America. I have two books. One is from Colombia, and this is one of the most famous classics of all time, and I have never read it yet. I have Gabriel Garcia Marquez, 100 Years of Solitude. This is a staple, a classic, one of the most beloved authors from Colombia, and I have no idea what it's about, but I know that it's required reading for a lot of people and for a reason. So I want to get into this without knowing much about it. So everything I know is from the first sentence, I think, because I read the first sentence of this. Many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Aureliano Buendia was to remember that distant afternoon when his father took him to discover ice. The writing is said to be so beautiful, so lyrical, and I just love books like that, so I just want to get into this. I'm so excited. And lastly, from Latin America is a book I have already read. It is from Argentina. We have Mariana Enriquez. with The Dangers of Smoking in Bed. I've actually already read this. Some books here left me disturbed. I dreamt of one of them. It scared me. It scared the shit out of me. The Dangers of Smoking in Bed is magical realism and horror by a woman author based in Buenos Aires. It's a collection of short stories. One is about a woman obsessed with the physical heart. Two girls who are obsessed with an idol. A neighborhood is cursed after a decision, a questionable decision that they made. Morally questionable decision that they made. There's a story about a rotting baby crawling into the bedroom as well. Those are some of the stories that I remember. Ooh, I really enjoy this. I want to read more. I want to read her other book, Things We Lost in the Fire. But if you have suggestions for other Argentinian authors, please let me know. I'd love to read more from Latin America as well. The writing is gorgeous. It's terrifying. It deals with a lot of topics such as fetish, idolatry, society itself, and morality and all that. So that's basically it. My back hurts. I have so many books to read. Life is too short to spend your whole life reading books from just one language. So much of the world is out there. So much of humanity is out there, lost in translation, that simply reading it through one language is so limiting, you know. I just want to read everything. I just want to read the world. If I can't travel because of the pandemic, I'll read the world. So yeah, I hope you join me in this journey of reading the world, reading the entire world. If you have any suggestions, any good places to start for other countries, any countries that you think are worth reading as well, very underrated. I really want to read some books from Africa as well. I've been wanting to read some more Achebe and a few more from Southeast Asia as well, because it's mainly East Asian culture that's well written about. I'd really love to learn more about literature from Southeast Asia. So if you have more suggestions, let me know. What are your favorites? Is there anything that you've read here that you think I should bump up in priority and get started on? Let me know. Are any of these your favorites? Any of these you hated or were quite difficult to digest? Let me know. And quick announcement. The next time you see me post would probably be in a different place. The reason why I've been so busy and posting less is because we're moving. But we're finally settling down, after months. And the next time you see me, I'll probably be in a different location with better lighting, better audio. So look forward to that. Aside from that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you liked, disliked. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.